Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too.
Ever notice when someone starts a new fitness plan or a diet and they're really excited about it? Maybe they've tried things in the past, but this time it's going to be different, right? They start to post videos. They start to post pictures of their meals because it's really exciting. Eventually that excitement fades. And unfortunately, when the excitement fades, you stop posting less, you stop getting less likes from other people, you stop getting that external validation, and you're setting yourself up for that repeat cycle of starting and stopping that yo-yo dieting. And ultimately, it's going to end the same way, if not worse, each time. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to kind of shift from kind of jumping in full steam ahead every single time you're trying to lose weight, and really shifting kind of our mindset here to kind of the long-term approach and making it a lifestyle, right? And so welcome in. It's been a little bit since I've been able to have a consistent schedule here with podcasts. It's been a crazy past few months here, but hopefully things are starting to slow down a little bit, as I know they won't. But I'm gonna get back to regular podcasts, and so thank you for listening. I'm glad you are still here and supporting the show. I enjoy getting the information out this way. If you follow me on Instagram, or you're on my email list, or inside my Facebook group, the podcast is just another source of information. Everybody has kind of their own kind of way where they like to get their information, whether you're driving in the car or just maybe you're working out, you're listening to the podcast, right? Sometimes watching a reel can be great, watching YouTube videos and things like that, but a podcast is something you can just start and stop whenever. And so hopefully I can dive a little bit deeper into some topics on here, and we can learn together and grow together, and I can help you the best way that I can. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about external validation and why sometimes that can help short term, but long term you're the one that's got to put in the work. And so when you start something new, the immediate thing you want to do is seek validation, right? I think that's normal, and I think that's okay, right? If you're making a big decision, a big career move, right, you're gonna talk about it with your wife. You're gonna talk about it with there's people closest to you, right? And so you want some form of validation, right? I don't know anybody who doesn't seek it in some way, right? And that's okay, but I think at the end of the day, you've got to make that decision with yourself, is that you're going to do it whether or not they're supporting you or not, right? If something's that important to you, you're going to continue to do it, whether your friends, whether your family, whether anybody supports you, right? And so think of something simple, like you decided to your friends wanted you to go play a pickup game of basketball or something on the weekend, or some old high school buddies or something, and you were going to tell them no. You said, hey, my son has a t-ball game Saturday afternoon, and so I'm not going to be able to make it. You've already made that decision up in your mind, right? You may care what they think, but you're not going to change your mind. You're not going to skip your son's baseball game or your son's t-ball game because your friends gave you a hard time for skipping going to get a couple beers with them after basketball, right? And so you got to have that same conviction. You have to have that same belief when it comes to your workouts or your nutrition. Sometimes people aren't going to understand. They're not going to understand why you say no to a cookie. They're not going to understand why you don't go out to pizza and beers with them after your weekly softball games. They may not understand that. But if you want to make it a lifestyle, if you want to make it something that you're not jumping back and forth on all the time, then you have to have that conviction. You have to have that belief in yourself. You have to have that internal motivation and to know why you're doing something right. Posting photos, sharing your workouts online is great, right? You're gonna get likes. You're gonna get you may be able to encourage somebody else. You may be able to inspire somebody away. It's a way to feel proud, right? You get likes, you get comments, you get the support there, right? But when that fades off, and it will, you stop getting the same feedback, motivation is going to drop, right? And that's okay. The motivation is going to kind of ebb and flow, right? It's much easier to be motivated when you got 8 hours of sleep than it is when your son or your daughter woke up 6 times during the night and you're getting up for your 6 a.m. workout, right? And so external validation is great. If you have a workout buddy, awesome. But what happens when he can't make it to the gym that morning? Are you still going to go? Hopefully. But chances are you probably won't. You may go every once in a while. But if you're so used to letting somebody else be that motivation for you, when that's gone, you've now lost all your motivation. You're not going to take action anymore. I talk about this with my clients too. Right? I can motivate you. I can encourage you. I can help you, but I cannot do the work for you. Right? And if you want something to be something that lasts and not something you're dieting every year for the rest of your life, you have to want it more than I do, right? You have to want it more than your coach does. Hiring a coach is a great step to get to reach your goals much faster than you ever could on your own. But if you are not willing to put in the work, if you do not want your success more than your coach wants, you're really just wasting your money because the coach cannot do the work for you. As a coach, I cannot do the work for you. Lifestyle changes are quiet, right? Nobody really sees it. Lifestyle shifts happen in the background. Right? When you stop feeling the need to kind of share every meal you eat, every workout you eat, because it's just what you do now, that's when you know you're on the right path, right? How many fitness coaches do you follow online? How many of their workouts do you see? Maybe every once in a while, right? Some of them post pretty often, but the majority of them never post. Or they'll share an informational video, but they don't show you their workouts. They don't show you every meal they eat. Every once in a while they do, because I'll share some meals every once in a while. I show clips of workouts here and there, but not very often. I work out 4 or 5 times a week, and I've done that consistently for years. I eat really well most of the time. No one knows, but I know, right? I don't need everybody else to know. I share things because I know it can be helpful. It can be helpful to see. It can be helpful to see what somebody else is doing, right? Just to give them meal ideas, give them workout ideas, right? And please don't get me wrong. This is not something I'm immune to, right? Comparison syndrome, compare myself to other people. I do it all the time. But I had to learn through that. I've had to overcome things, and I've noticed the more I want to share with other people, sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm like, why am I sharing this? How am I wanting somebody to view myself here, right? I could post pictures of my shirt off every single day, and sure, I might get some likes and things like that, but to be able to get to that point where I'm comfortable with how I look and feel without getting the external validation from other people. Some people need that. Some people need that more than others, right? When you make it about a lifestyle change, it's no longer about proving something to others. You're living for yourself. You're doing this because it's for you. You go from wanting to lose weight to wanting to have more energy to wanting to be able to run around with your kids more, right? You just want to look better, not just to look better, but you want to feel better about yourself, right? I have conversations with dads all the time. They always say, "Well, my wife's gonna love me no matter what." Sure, I hope your wife does, and she will, right? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't put in the work to be the best version of you, right? Just because your wife's going to love you, whether you lose 50 pounds or not, doesn't mean you shouldn't lose the 50 pounds. There's so much more benefits than just weight loss. To be honest, weight loss can be very surface level goals, right? Losing 20 pounds, you're probably going to gain that weight back unless it means more to you. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? What's that going to do for you? You lose 20 pounds and you have more energy, so you can go to the park with your kids. What's that going to do for you? How's that going to change your life? That's going to change your life a lot more. And that's a lot more motivating than just seeing 200 on the scale again, right? The number on the scale is going to keep you motivated for a while. But if you want to stick with it long term, you got to dig a little deeper there, right? So we want to break this cycle of starting over, right? Relying on that excitement of the external validation is really just going to burn you out when it kind of fades away, right? When you stop posting or you stop working out and you eventually fall back into the old habits, this is why, you've struggled in the past. This is why you've struggled to stay consistent. I've already talked about the solution. The solution is, focus on those long-term habits, right? Make your habits small. Make them manageable, consistent. They're not flashy, right? The things that work don't sell. I call, say, earlier today with someone who struggled with their weight their entire life. They're 70 years old. They told me they have struggled with their weight since they were like 8 or 9. I said 60 years. That's a long time. 60 years. And very recently, they bought some supplements. They spent $600 on supplements because it promised they could lose the weight without diet or exercise. They could eat whatever they wanted. I looked up the product they told me about, and I believe it actually said, you could eat cookies, cake, ice cream, all these things without working out, without eating well, because you were taking their product. I wish it were that simple. I wish 60 years of struggles could be solved. Not. If it were, everyone would be doing it, right? Why isn't every single person, why isn't are your cousins, why isn't your aunt and uncles all at a healthy body weight? Because it can be really hard. We have food around us all the time, right? Unless you modify your behavior, unless you modify your environment, unless you change what you've done in the past, stop relying on the highs of the excitement, and you start to focus on consistency, not perfection, but consistency, but that's when the real magic happens. You stop chasing those likes, you stop chasing that external validation, you start moving towards progress, right? You stop looking for those quick fixes. That goes with everything. And unfortunately, that goes with posting photos of the meals you're eating and the workouts you do too. Sometimes because you're going to get that external motivation, but I guarantee you're going to be much more motivated when you work quietly for months and then everybody sees you in person. They're going to have no idea how it happened, but you're going to know. And that's going to be much more rewarding. Doesn't mean you can't post your meals. Please don't think that's what I'm saying, right? I do it occasionally too. Please don't feel like you can't post your workouts. But what I want you to get away from is stop using that as your fuel, right? Stop using that as your fuel for your motivation. If you want to make it last, you have to dig deep. I think I've talked about it before. I think it was Simon Sinek that wrote the book Find Your Why. I've never actually read the book, but I know the concept of it. There's many other books I've read that talk about it, but it's really just digging deeper, right? Finding your why, figuring out your motivation, right? David Goggins talks about it's easy to get up and run in the morning, but when it's wintertime in Chicago, and you told yourself you're getting up early in the morning to run, how motivated are you to go? You tell yourself you're going to run, Goggins would tell you, rain or shine, you said you were going to run. You go do it. Now, if you're somebody who's internally motivated, you're going to get up and go run no matter what. If you're somebody who's externally motivated, the weather's probably going to deter you. That's what happens a lot of times too if you're externally motivated when trying to lose weight. That's why you've been trying to lose weight for years. You've tried to make it quick. You've tried to look for external things instead of digging deep and doing the work and figuring out what really makes you tick. Why do you want to lose this weight, right? It probably has nothing to do with the weight. I told you that you could wake up tomorrow with more confidence, with more energy, feeling better about yourself. But when you stand on the scale, you'll weigh the exact same. Would you take that trade? Of course you would. The number on the scale is just a number, right? You're 6 foot tall and 200 pounds. That can look a lot different to a lot of people. If you're somebody who exercises regularly, you're probably going to have quite a bit of muscle on you. If you're somebody who's never exercised, doesn't really much effort into their nutrition, probably going to look a lot different than that person who's been working out consistently for years. But you're both 200 pounds. Yeah, the number means something, but it's not the most important thing. Find your why. Figure out what's going to keep you motivated so you can stick with this. If you got kids, do you want to run around with them? They're only going to be young for a little while. Coach their basketball team. You want to be one of their assistant baseball coaches? You want to run a 5K with them? Or do you just want to be able to go to the park and pick them up and put them on the monkey bars without your shoulders hurting? It doesn't matter what it is. You just got to know what that is, right? And sometimes, having accountability and help from somebody else can be very helpful, right? But you still got to do the work. Having a workout partner is great. When you are internally motivated, you know your reasons behind doing things, and you're consistent with that, and you're working out consistently, and then you add a workout partner to that or a coach to keep you accountable, it's like rocket fuel. You're just going to speed everything up. You're already doing the right things. You're taking action. I know you want this. Posting pictures of your workouts and your meals, you're taking action. I know this means something to you, but you got to dig a little deeper. You just got to dig a little deeper, figure out what's going to keep you going, right? Because there are going to be those days when you wake up, you're working out at 5 in the morning, you're working out at 6 in the morning. Maybe you got to work out at night. The kids are in bed. It's easy to just crack open a cold one, grab a bag of chips, watch a show on Netflix. Easy to just hit snooze and skip that early morning workout, right? You got to get away from the mindset of this is something you're only doing every once in a while. If you can focus on these small changes, you can focus on these small, manageable habits that you can add into your life, not completely overhauling it all at once. You're just adding these small things that you're able to do consistently, and you're able to stick with that. That's when you're going to start to see progress, right? And so, yes, posting photos of your workouts, of your meals, things like that may give you that motivation to get started. What's going to keep you going once that fades? You're in this for the long game. It's not about how many meals you eat a week, right? It's about how many meals you eat that are in line with your goals and how many workouts you knock out when no one's watching, right? Stay consistent, make it a lifestyle, and you'll never have to start over again.
That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.